hold on for a second. Um, okay. Make you wait. Click away. Watch something else. Okay, hold on, let's just see if this works. That made me feel better. So, I couldn't get a hold of Hythloday for some reason. So, I will just say here, it's not the loss of this friendship. It was very distant. It's just a dozen conversations. It's just more. I had the biggest row that I've ever had on YouTube, I think, by my standards, with Hythloday. And one of the reasons was it felt like we were on a substantive conversation, and we just couldn't. And at the time, it was because had questions for me, which I felt I'd answered, and I had some questions for him, and he was very explicit about he was the questioner, I was the questionee, and that's hypocritical, right? There is nothing that I've done that means that there's a one-dimensional thing, a one-directional thing. It's not supposed to be hypocritical. And in this case, okay, similar thing. He's complaining I haven't drawn. Well, my generic 5-year-old Wacom pad doesn't work that great. It doesn't really work with my software or whatever. It doesn't keep up with my writing. But I described in words you should be able to do that. But besides that, Hythloday, he didn't draw a diagram of. He's the one that accused me of being circular first, and he didn't draw a fucking diagram. He didn't make a proof that I was circular. There's no such proof. He just described, and I get his description. It's and why, and I said, here's why I think you're saying that, but here's the other. Whatever. That's the discussion. What really bothers me um, is that whether we're friends or not and because of the discussion. That's ridiculous. Um, we're here, from my point of view, to discuss things, but like nobody else sees that. Nobody else sees it that way. Quintica, paranoid about that I'm trying to attack him. I can't even watch his videos or respond to him. Right? I'm not going to prohibit myself from mentioning him in a context like this, though, because it it's irrelevancy. But here's somebody voted for Trump. I'd like to discuss that. It's interesting to me. I'm never going to be able to figure out in my own head, without the help of somebody that actually did it, why people would do that. So um, the thing is, uh, finding some new truth here that has happened. Kazina McCool taught me that pi is just as ordinary a number as 2, maybe more so, more justifiably a real particular number. Uh, Mel's basket case opened up my eyes about mental health activism when there were atheists trying to get belief to get theism in the DSM. Um, Plus, there's people I follow that I find interesting. Um, what they're going through, what they're doing. Jamie Mansell, Nick Bravo, Kent Hovind. Just a long story of having watched what's going on online for 10, 8 years. Interesting to me. Okay. Um, but in the discussion, um, I think, of course, you should be able to make some friends anywhere you spend time. On the other hand, the way I see it is it's as if we were all going to a cafe or a club where you do in the cafe or the club is you argue and discuss things with people. And like, I don't think you should come into the discussion to make friends. That should not be your goal, right? And I've always thought, oh, maybe people are saying it's for socialization. That means that's why they're doing it. Okay, and I disagree with that. But I didn't think most of the people that I ended up discussing with things over time didn't seem like they were trying to make friends. Um, so I found that odd. And it's occurred to me people might come, another socialization reason would be to come to make enemies and maybe to make low commitment enemies because they certainly online low commitment friends at best. So low commitment enemies might be better than real enemies, but then people get confused about the difference anyway. And once you make an enemy, you feel like they're an enemy, and it's all kind of automatically blown out of proportion. And I just can't imagine you go to that club for 8, 9 years, having made hates with people, and it just see. I want to go to the discussion club and be like, yeah, we argue things out. It's just like in academia. They have different opinions, but they recognize nobody else wants to talk about third century, monastic poetry. So we argue about it, but we need each other because nobody else gives a shit about that subject. But nobody seems to really know. I still think that subconsciously people might, their drives really line up with that. But certainly consciously, that's not what they think they're doing. And plus the culture around us. It's like I've been wanting to reboot this thing since I came to Maine or shortly after. If I was going to keep doing it, I thought like it needs to be rebooted. But what good is it to make a glass submarine to sail the shit sea? You know what I mean? It's like you're still in a bunch of shit even if you keep it clean inside the. This isn't where was when we started, where people were like, hey, and there was a novelty. There wasn't a novelty to me. I've been discussing things online via bulletin boards, modem enabled, since I first got a computer around 14. And, having doing it on video was new, but the novelty of having discussions with strangers, which ought to be a technique for getting a cross section of opinions that you otherwise wouldn't be exposed to with the systematic biases of who you run into and make friends with. And again, I don't think people consciously have thought that through. Maybe they just haven't had time. But I don't know why, if you go down to, play dominoes for 9 years, that you would go if you just keep harboring more and more resentments, right? And it also bothered me Hythlodae's thing about friendliness somehow being a negative thing. You become friends by default. Well, that's called collegial feelings or whatever, right? Like it's not the same as your buddy you go down fishing with. Um, and just to criticize that, it's a necessary part of having a decent intellectual discussion. Now, granted, I have not had that standard. I do, in some places, have that kind of standard about what I will spend my time on in conversation. And I think maybe it's just inherently insulting. I am honest about why I'm here, and to a certain degree, it's well, for example, I am pro-choice, um, and I've always been pro-choice. But when people were anti-choice, anti-abortion, I, you know, I'm like, why? And you find out, well, we think it's murder. It's like, how could you think? Why would it be murder? And they describe why it's murder. And I now, and for many years, have understood why they think of it as murder. And frankly, I understand why they think it's murder. They really think it's murder, and they have an argument. It's not the worst argument in the world. Now, some people hearing that, being simple-minded, would think I'm contradicting myself. How could I say that their argument isn't so bad and be pro-choice? Well, it's because not all bad arguments are equally bad. Not all bad arguments are equally, not all unjustified beliefs are equally unjustified, right? And the motivation for an idea, yeah, you can be interested in that so that you can change their idea, but you can also just be trying to find out about their idea. And ultimately, if people really had any democratic spirit at all, they would appreciate we need different opinions and to balance out and make less rash decisions, right? So I'm genuinely interested and value other people's opinion, and not because they're right. So when I come here, if it's like if I was really here looking for people to tell me and help me out with and clear up some problems in my brain, that would be like looking for excuse me, four-leaf clovers. And my philosophy is you should not look for four-leaf clovers unless you like looking at three-leaf clovers. Now, when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time looking for four-leaf clovers, but really, I like clover. I ate shit tons of clover. It's tasty, and I think they're kind of, they have kind of a humble beauty, and not all three-leaf clovers are the same or equal. And they make a little canopy, a little miniature canopy close to the ground. Uh, and as I say, they taste great. I never found a four-leaf clover, but I did look for them. But was that really why I was sitting there in the clover as a child? No, it's a pleasant. The little clover is pleasant. And as I said, it tastes great. So I, as an adult, am here. Um, I might find a four-leaf clover, and I'm open to that. So, for example, Kazina McCool and the pie thing, uh, hugely pivotal and a change in my life about how I viewed mathematics in advance. It didn't negate how I'd previously thought of mathematics, and enhanced it a great deal. And freed me from some biases that I'd had about certain mathematical systems, as though those, like the decimal number system, as though those were privileged over other mathematical patterns. When in reality, I believe now they're subservient, extremely subsidiary. Um, but mostly, I'm just checking out the three-leaf clovers. There might be a four-leaf clover in there, but most days, no. So that amounts to me understanding, hey, you believe something that I think is wrong. I could tell you why I think it's wrong. I think pro-choice is the only way you can really go forward in a culture, in a group of people, because otherwise it's unacceptable what you're forcing on the person that wants to get an abortion. I'm I'm interested in understanding the wrong opinions that other people have. Not just wrong opinions, but ones that people actually hold, like your all ideas. I'm interested in that, and knowing why and understanding why and figuring out how you're probably going to vote on things because of the real reason why. And when something new comes up, if I could figure out how you might think based on the principles that I understand you to believe in and that hopefully you've explained to me. Um, and I mean, that you've explained to me, I mean that my understanding is compatible with what you think, right? So that if I said, "Hey, you'll probably think this about this new issue," and you would go, "Yep, you're good guess," right? But you would say, "But not this part. It's a little different." Fine, but that's understanding. The ability to do that with other people is having understanding of how they think. And I think that makes a better society. And I just happen to be very interested in that subject, always have been interested in the train of thought and other people's train of thought, and really analyzing this. This is, I figured out words for it, but um, that's what started me an interest in art and philosophy and engineering and everything else that I'm interested in. Um, so, Now, the good side of this is that it's really opened up my mind about a video site because see, I've been trying to figure out what we would all like, how would other people want it to work, and then people don't really want to say, but they want to see this kind of site, or they say, and it's a big disagreement, and da 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 da. And how do you do it? Maybe you start a Kickstarter, you put the ideas there, you start multiple Kickstarters to see which one people prefer, and trying to have a debate site for all of us. And I always have web servers. To have a video site, all I really have to do is upload my videos there. But you don't want to do that. You want to have an automatic way that new videos are indexing and stuff. And frankly, I don't like recording videos and then having to transcode and upload them and all that. I want an automatic upload. And fortunately, right now, there's open source software that even their demo will do that. Will record video because of this WebRTC stuff that's now in all the browsers from your browser, and you can just stream it straight to a hard drive, stream it forward to S3. So I can make a site where I can upload videos the way I like, and I don't have to worry about if other people want to do it that way. Because it won't be open to other people. It'll just be out. I mean, I do a billion things on my web servers, and now with the cloud, you can put up a new web server all the time. It's easy. And I could put this one on cloud machines I already have. So that clarifies that, right? And I can have annotation and all that, and I can have links to other videos. I can attach replies, and and then I'll have that software. And maybe I'll open source it and you can put it on your own server, or maybe then I'll try to open it up and see if other people want to do it that way. But I mean, YouTube's the longest I've ever, been doing this kind of discussion stuff as primary. I've always had some place I was primarily doing it. And as far as online, um, to get this broader scanning of the culture, like the tick would say, monitoring the culture. Because in terms of, I discuss this kind of stuff we discuss with people in regular life. I've developed ways to go ahead and do that without, finding the opportune moments. And, so there's more than one cross section in my archive. Um, but it's possible in the open conversation, the widest possible conversation, and open to those that want to take part in it. That's always been an important part. Um, I could return to that later. I'm not against that idea, but before I was wed to that idea. It's like that had to be the thing. We have had discussions of, and we want to have a seed community enough that it's attractive to do it, and because everybody wants Well, I don't really. I mean, my primary thing at any given moment, because I've always gone to new, and I still during this time, I go to new places and discuss things, and you try to see what's going on at these other. I keep in touch with other communities I've been a part of or I know of, um, trying to find out what keep up or find out what's going on there. And the idea we always had, Fred, Gary, and many of us, was to go and have this kind of, you have to have a seed community. But you don't really, if as a discussioneer, and since I'm maybe the only person that fits this particular category, that maybe I've too broadly thought all of you were doing the same thing, that get it in this open conversation, and probably you're not. But the first thing in that case is that you're archiving. So it's like when people start off at YouTube, hardly anybody sees the stuff. You're still making it. Why is that? Well, I'm still looking for a four-leaf clover. Well, no, really, you should enjoy making videos. Because even in the beginning, you can watch them yourself and see, oh, that's what I look like when I say that. Oh, that seemed a little this way or that way, or that sound. If I would disagree with that if I was another person, even though I'm the guy that made the video. And so, you should probably enjoy recording your ideas even for your own review. You should enjoy writing if you blog because, it'll take a while. And if you're just doing it to be a hit blogger and make your living that way, well, then you better for sure enjoy the writing if you expect to get there. On the other hand, the way the internet works is if you enjoy writing and that's why you're doing it, eventually, and there's ways if you want to speed it up, but even if you don't, eventually um, somebody will notice it and you'll have a small group of people that like discussing the kind of ideas that you've been bringing up. So it makes it much easier, the idea of doing that. And yeah, I realize this discussion is not going on here. I'm thinking of closing my comments, um, but I don't think that's necessary um, because it's really about. I read my comments and feel like, well, those are the people that said, hey, you started a conversation, I have something to say. So I don't ignore them. Now, not every comment needs a reply, just like the person commenting didn't reply on every part of the video. And, so I'm not saying I reply to every single person, but I feel like reading that, and that's part that I enjoy. So those messages come up and I'll go check them out. And when it happens on an old video, it's kind of, oh, that's interesting. I might watch an old video or remember it and answer their question or complaint often. So if if so, I'm not gonna feel that way. I'll read them. Maybe I won't. Um, because I've realized a lot of this conversation is is an illusion. Right now, I still enjoy taking part. I have been able. The illusion was sustained. Let's put it this way, by the fact that I have been able to work on my philosophical ideas and figure out, by trying to express yourself, you figure out more clarity on your own ideas. And so the fact that that's all working made me think that really there was a conversation, a network of people trying to do this discussion and nearing the way I'm talking about, where you actually are interested in other people's ideas. Maybe you actually believe in a society that a society needs people with multiple different points of view. Perhaps you don't trust your imagination to figure out why people vote the way they do. You would never vote that way. That there's some reason you want it to be in the public conversation, right? Because the romantic side or idealistic or maybe over the top part is that this conversation to me it's the subconscious of the zeitgeist. It includes things that don't make it on into the mainstream attitude, right? At a given for a given decade. But it's going on, right? And sometimes there's little knots and groups of people having discussions from history that go, these riding circles and stuff that major world events happen. Not always good, like the Beirut Circle. Not always good, but it's it's like a, being a neuron in the global brain, right? And I don't think you all are seeing the romance of that and how you're not a neuron trying to make an army of neurons to kill the other part of the brain. That's not how neurons do their little thing. You're doing it like a neuron where you exchange information and adjust to the information that you get. So, yeah, I guess that's everything.